So that's the land, air, and sea collection. That's the perfect one. And I finally have it. So what's the problem, Chris? Why aren't you happy? In the land of unobtainable steel sports Rolexes, there lies a sub-collection only the brave choose to pursue. Most sane individuals who aspire to buy a Rolex are simply satisfied when they finally make that purchase. They are content. They aren't interested in the next watch. But for some people, like myself, I was pulled towards a more bold pursuit. I call it the holy trio of Rolex. The almighty land, air, and sea combination. A Rolex for every adventure you may encounter on this earth. Much like climbing Mount Everest, the journey proved to be treacherous, dangerous even, albeit to my pocketbook and ego, but dangerous nonetheless. And now that I climbed that mountain and I hold that trio in my hand, I ask myself, was this really what I wanted? Or did I fall for some mysterious, horological siren in the night? What's up, YouTube? I'm Christophernegroni, and today we're talking Rolex, we're talking steel sports, and that coveted land, air, and sea collection. Let's get into it. All right, after years of dreaming up this combination of Rollies, I finally completed my land, air, and sea collection within the Rolex collection. And it's kind of funny because I remember thinking about this collection before I had more than one Rolex. You know, for the longest time, I only had my Submariner or some form of a Submariner, and that was my only Rolex, my only really good watch. Meanwhile, I was a frequent lurker on the Rolex forums and, of course, Instagram. And seeing collection photos that have a sub, a GMT, and a Daytona always gave me that Indiana Jones feeling, like cracking open the lost treasure. Now I know that the whole land, air, and sea concept, it isn't a new concept, but I remember when I would peruse on the forums and look for interesting threads, those were some of my favorite to look through, those threads labeled land, air, and sea collection. And to see what other people would come up with within not only Rolex, but different brands, it was interesting. It was kind of a guilty pleasure. I don't know what it is about seeing those three types of watches together, you know, in a photo or in a video. It's very visually appealing, especially to a Rolex fanboy like myself. It feels balanced. It feels like those three watches best represent all of Rolex's DNA. It's a little bit of watch porn, if you will. But the truth of the matter is that when I finally assembled my trio, you know, it took me so long that it really wasn't a thing anymore. I didn't even really know that I had completed this trio until one day I was brainstorming some video topics, and it was there that I realized, holy shit, I have the perfect land, air, and sea collection. I can make a video about that. You know, the wait for some of these pieces they're just so long that a lot of the times your mind changes about some of these pieces and the collection that you want to build. And owning one or two of these pieces, you know, really changes your perception of what you thought you wanted. You know, for the longest time, I wanted a Pepsi on Jubilee. And when I finally got that call, I was elated. I was super happy to have that watch. But when I switched that focus over to the Daytona, that was all I could think about was that watch. You know, all the research and time and effort went into that watch, and my Pepsi, long forgotten. So this idea of a collection trio, the land, air, and sea, wasn't even a thought in my mind. You know, it was Pana Daytona, Pana Daytona. That's all I wanted. But that's kind of how sick I've become. You know, how sick we've all become. Now, don't get me wrong. Shooting these three watches, these three beautiful, hard to get steel sports Rolexes, was very fun. It was a very good experience. Seeing these three, knowing that these were my watches. You know, it took me so long to get these watches, and every shot that I took, you know, it was very fun. It was satisfying to see that through. But naturally, my thoughts and feelings have evolved. The video that I thought I would make about a land, air, and sea collection years ago isn't exactly what I'm making today. Now, before I get too far into the weeds, you know, into my weird watch logic that really, I feel like only makes sense to, you know, 17 viewers that are going to watch this video, I really want to explain why I still think this is the perfect trio of steel sports Rolex. If you're going to do it today, this is still the perfect trio. I know that there are many different ways to complete the land, air, and sea collection, but trust me, this is the best way to complete it. Now, for my land choice, of course, it had to be the white dial steel Rolex Daytona, the best modern version of this watch. You know, not the newest, but the best. If you're familiar with this channel, you already know how strongly I feel towards the now discontinued 116500 LN. For me and for many out there, this is peak Daytona. Before Rolex lost their damn mind, they knew the Daytona formula was not to be tampered with. They merely improved upon a perfectly sized, perfectly proportioned wristwatch with modern amenities like the ceramic bezel, like that solid clasp. Why change a perfect design? Those asymmetric lugs, which are a design and not a flaw, were always a character of the Daytona that attributed to that perfect balance on wrist, both visually and weight-wise. A case that retained sleek, sexy, polished lines. This is the Steel Sports chronograph to have as your land racing wristwatch. Now, before you pause the video and start hammering away in the comments, I tried on the new one. It's bigger, it's better, it has a steel ring. The old one's for a girl. All right, I get it. Okay, if what you're looking for is a new Rolex Daytona, a new one, steel Daytona, you want your steel Daytona, then you have to like the new one. You have no choice. So I get it. You want your future Daytona to be the better Daytona. I get it. So you're convincing yourself. You have to convince yourself. The new one's better, right? It's got the steel ring. It's better. It's better. Better movement. Newer move. I get it. You may not get it, but I get it. I get it. A lot of us get it. A lot of us that have this one get it. We get it, but you don't. You don't get it. But I understand. We get it. And I had my choice of the new or the old Daytona when the new one was introduced. And, I thought, this is my only chance to get a Daytona, is the new Daytona. I felt myself trying to convince myself that I like this new one. It's cool, right? Oh, it's got a steel ring. Like, I like it. But deep down, I knew that I wanted this one. So I stood my ground. I had my choice. I could have, opted for the new one, but I really fought for the old one because I think this is the better one. Anyways, for my air choice, I think it's pretty hard to argue with this one. The Rolex GMT Master II, the Pepsi as everyone calls it, the red and blue, the most iconic GMT there is. When you think of a Rolex GMT, the only thought that comes to mind is that red and blue bezel. It's as classic as it gets in the watch world. Red and blue, such opposing colors, but fixed onto that GMT bezel, it's only then that combination somehow works perfectly. The choice of Pan Am pilots, I've said it many, many times before, but Rolex marketing, they're genius. And let me just say that although Rolex may have some of the best marketing, it doesn't take anything away from their wristwatches. I think their watches are that great. And when people say that their watches aren't great, it's all marketing, I feel like those people, they don't want to fall victim to something. They're the type of person that's always skeptical. They think everything is a scam, and the same goes with the wristwatches. They think that they're better. They can find something of more value that's, better value or something like that. And it's just not the case. Every Rolex I've ever had makes me feel special. They're well built. They last forever. They're some of the best timepieces you can buy. Is that all marketing? Maybe I'm brainwashed. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm the sucker. Is it all a scam? No, look at that. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Look at this. Beautiful. Marketing. Those people they have trust issues. You guys got trust issues. Just look at this Pepsi on Jubilee. It's a modern masterpiece. It's both a sports piece that can handle your everyday needs, but looks stunning dressed up, has the right amount of heft while still nice and slim, has adequate water resistance, and offers a practical complication, something that just works. No extra tools needed for setting. No worry of breaking the thing. It's a great overall Rolex, something that anchors the land, air, and sea concept. Lastly, of course, is your seagoing watch. Now, before I go further, I didn't really mention any alternatives to the other two choices. But when it comes to your sea choice in this trio, your dive watch, there's a few other alternatives that I feel like would be suitable, acceptable to put into that holy trio. For instance, any Sea Dweller separates yourself from the typical Submariner choice. It gives you a different wearing experience. It's a chunkier dive watch with a pretty badass history. In particular, the James Cameron has one of the best looking dials on a Rolex, but this substitution can really only be made for guys with just massive wrists. You got to be able to pull off the Sea Dweller, and especially that deep sea. And there's just not many guys out there that are willing to put up with that thickness. But I think if you do have the wrist to pull it off, it's a suitable alternative. Just remember, the perfect choice for your sea-going watch just needs to be a little bit different to be special in this trio. Now for me, I absolutely love green. It's my favorite color, so it was a no-brainer. It had to be a green sub. Now, way back when it was the Hulk, it was the 116610 LV, the Hulk. That was the watch that I wanted in that trio. I had tons of photos of the three. It was a Pepsi, a Hulk, and a Panda Daytona, and that's the three that I thought that I would go with eventually. But having owned the Hulk and a few other 11 series Submariners, they never really looked right. And it wasn't until Rolex fixed the Submariner that I realized I kind of hate the blocky Submariners. Yes, the dial of the Hulk is gorgeous. It's what everybody says. The dial is amazing. It's gorgeous. But I can't even see the dial when I wear it because my brain just continues to fixate on those hideous lugs. It's so squared off. And the new green subs, they were cool, but it wasn't until Rolex made that green lighter that really made me lust after this watch. It was the Submariner I wanted all along. So that's the land, air, and sea collection. That's the perfect one. And I finally have it. So what's the problem, Chris? Why aren't you happy? Well, it was in this video's conception. It's writing that I realized the problem. Before you crucify me, hear me out. I came to this conclusion after years of chasing and now owning these watches. So the problem is, they're all kind of the same watch. Let's get real for a second. There isn't any occasion in which I'm wearing my Submariner or I took it with me and I need to bring my GMT as well. When you really think about it, this whole land, air, and sea thing, it's just kind of silly. I love cars, okay? I love cars. There's my future car right there, the Porsche GT3. I love them. I love cars. But I'm not a race car driver, okay? I love taking my GMT traveling. I like taking pictures of it when I'm looking out the plane. I love doing that. But can I be honest with you guys? I'm gonna tell you a dirty little secret here. I hate setting them multiple times. I do it just because I'm a watch guy. I do it just because. But I don't I don't need the time back at home or anywhere else, around the world. Like, other people may need that, but I don't, because when I travel, I just need the local time zone. I mean, the last time I traveled, I went to Greece, and all I took was my Submariner. I took one watch. I had the time set when I left. When I got there, I changed the time to the local time, and that was it. Set it, forget it. Jump in the pool, jump in the ocean, rinse it off, go to dinner. It did everything I needed to do. It's the most enjoyment that I got out of a watch, is that Submariner and that trip. And that's the peak for me. And I'll take it even further than that, because although the Submariner was perfect, did everything I needed it to do on that trip. Just one watch. I didn't have the Panda Daytona yet. And now that I have it, I think about that trip, and there's nothing that was accomplished with the Submariner that I couldn't do with the Daytona. Everything that I did with that Submariner, I could do with the Daytona. Even the little bit of actual scuba diving that I did with my Submariner. And that was fun to do, but I'm not a scuba diver. I don't know how often I'll be doing that again. And just tell me why it feels weird to go, max 20 meters. That's all I went, 20 meters when this is capable of 100 meters. Why does it feel weird to take your Daytona 20 meters underwater to do a little occasional, scuba diving, 15, 20 meters? Why is that weird? I'll tell you why it's weird, because the watch industry has convinced us that we need themed watches. They've sold us this idea that we need a watch for every occasion, land, air, and sea. But I'm on to you, watch industry. Big watch. Get it? Like big pharma, big watch. I mean, my mind is open now, guys. I'm even begging the question, why can't I do everything in a day date? I think it'd be kind of cool to have, a day date or a Daytona as your one main watch, something you do everything with, and that's just Chris's watch. That's his watch. I'm really thinking about this now that I have some of these really hard to get pieces, some of these that are really coveted and are in this kind of sweet spot, this tier where it's not quite an entry level, but it's not quite these crazy over $100,000 pieces that you can't wear every day. They're kind of like a sweet spot of wearability, but still collectability, and still like gives you that oomph every day. That's kind of where this and the day date. Man, I'm really thinking about this now. I mean, it may seem like I'm spiraling and a little bit. I might be spiraling a little bit, but it did take a long time to get these watches. They were hard to get. There's a lot of effort, time to get these watches. So I'm not gonna do anything crazy. Just gonna sit and wait, because I've definitely had that feeling of regret of selling watches, and it's one of the worst feelings. So I'm gonna think about it. So it doesn't mean I'm not thinking about this, because I think it's a good idea. Some of these ideas, you gotta let simmer a little bit. And I'm thinking about heavier pieces. Shit, I'm even thinking about a platinum Daytona. I'm really loving the idea of a platinum Daytona. I feel like that could be my only watch. That's kind of a boss move, I love the Daytona already. Why not buy the best Daytona and just make that my only watch? My watch. Chris wears a platinum Daytona everywhere. So in order to put myself in line for some of these big pieces, some of these heavy hitting pieces, something like a platinum Daytona, something like a jumbo AP, oh man, I would really love a jumbo. That's really been sticking in my mind. In order to put myself in line for some of these watches, some of these other pieces got to go. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. All I know right now is that I'm wearing the shit out of this Daytona. I wear it most days. And when I reach for something else, when I wear something else, when I wear the Sub or the GMT, all I can think about is at least once in that day that I'm wearing another watch, I think about, I kind of miss my Daytona. I could be wearing the Daytona right now. I just love wearing it. It's very comfortable. It feels the most me. It's a great watch. I'll be honest, it ruined every other watch for me. I mean, I still love seeing that trio together, that land, air, and sea. I still think it's perfect. But I always reach for the Panda. We're not going to be hasty, okay? We're not going to do anything hasty. We're just going to sit back, YouTube. We're just going to sit back, ready to pounce. Anyways, maybe not the land, air, and sea video that you had expected. Maybe you expected something a little more dorky, something with that a little bit more themed, like land, air, and sea, and showing them in their elements, and that would have been cool. That's what I had envisioned in the beginning, before I had these watches, before I bought the watches, before I experienced the watches, and before I got the Daytona. Ruined everything. It's kind of like Toy Story when he got Buzz. When Andy got Buzz, Woody was forgotten, and maybe Woody is like my GMT and my first love. Now it's all forgotten. That engraving on the back is like Woody's. How Woody has Andy on the bottom of his foot, and it's just fading away. Damn, that's sad. Your Buzz. Hopefully, I didn't ruin, your dreams of also completing this trio. It's cool and it works for some people, and I'm just giving you food for thought. Maybe you don't need to complete this trio. Maybe you need to collect them all. Maybe you need just GMTs, Daytonas. I don't know. Maybe you just need one watch. Just think about it, okay? Are you a pilot? Are you even a pilot? Do you need a GMT? And even if you're a pilot, why can't a pilot just wear a Daytona, right? Think about that. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be badass as a pilot. You have your phone for all the other stuff, and they've got all this technology that you don't need the watch. You could be a pilot that wears a Daytona. I'm just rambling now. Anyways, hope you guys at least like the B-roll. I'm not sure how this video will turn out. Hopefully the B-roll is nice. Feel free to watch it on mute. You could just watch me on mute and just watch the beautiful B-roll. Anyways, thanks for watching. Negroni out. Liquid death. It's too early to drink Negronis, okay? Oh, these are good, though. I like a nice sparkling water. I'm bougie like that. These are hella funny to drink, like, if you're driving, you drink these. Look at that. It looks like a beer. It looks like a beer. You're just drinking these. Liquid death.